Now, many of you already know that each and every week on Tuesday, we get to see the NEV insurance registration from some of our favorite EV stocks like NEO. Last week, Tuesday, you will know that we did not get the report for the NEV insurance registrations, which mainly probably was due to of course, the Chinese national holiday, which started on the 29th to the 6th of October, which is something that, of course, made a lot of people to assume the kind of course, NEV insurance registration we would have seen probably in the last week of September, which, as seen on the screen, it was 4,400, meaning that from the period which started around the 25th to the 1st of October, NEO, of course, saw NEV insurance registrations of around 4,400, which was better than the week prior to that. Right now, for last week, or this week's report showed that from the 2nd to the 8th of October, NEO saw total NEV insurance registrations of around 1,300. Well, we know that this is mainly due to the holiday which was taking place in China, or the national holiday which was taking place in China, which started on the 29th and ended last week Friday on the 6th. Reason for this low, of course, NEV insurance registration was mainly due to that. However, I see that Leod, who they sell hybrid cars, they managed to sell 6,900 still on the very same week, or still on last week, which is something that one might ask themselves as to how did Leodo manage to achieve such a good or big number still on that week. But nonetheless, we hope for the best, and we hope to see, of course, the NEV insurance registrations from NEO improving starting this week. This week it is their week which everything is back to normal, things are moving as normal, and therefore we would expect to see NEO delivering good delivering good NEV insurance registrations numbers, especially knowing that this is the month when NEO is targeting record-breaking deliveries, looking at the kind of estimates which they did for themselves sometimes during their Q3 or sometimes during the Q3 of 2023. So I'm hopeful. I hope to see their numbers improving. One of the things that we saw or we read about NEO yesterday is that the waiting times have sort of like reduced, or the waiting times on most of the NEO cars have reduced to now 2 to 3 weeks, which, whether this is it because there's no demand, or whether this NEO has increased their production capacity, we are yet to see as to what is causing, of course, the waiting times for those that order their NEO cars to now get them earlier. So we will know if whether this, of course, reduction of the waiting period or waiting times or after you placed your NEO order, if whether it is a demand issue or it is a production, of course, ramp up, which now makes NEO to be able to deliver more vehicles on a weekly basis or on a month to month. So we will see that, I think, from next week NEV insurance registration report, which, if it comes much better or if it comes in big numbers, we will know that, of course, NEO, it simply means that they have increased their production, or they have ramped up their production capacity, and now they are able to, of course, deliver as many vehicles, trying to target that, of course, 30,000 deliveries, which they said for themselves that they will be delivering in Q4. So I'm looking forward on to the NEV insurance registrations that we'll get on Tuesday, because those NEV insurance registrations are the ones that are going to tell us if whether NEO is ready or has ramped up their production to fit the 30,000 monthly delivery target which they set for themselves in Q3, or if they have a demand problem. So we are going to see that from next week's report, but I'm hopeful, and I just hope that probably this is, or the reduction of the waiting times is mainly due to the production ramp up which they have done, and they now can deliver more cars on each and every day, which will result in them delivering more vehicles, meaning that those that place their orders, it will be good because they'll be able to get their cars or lay their hands on their cars in a short space of time, which is something that I think it's quite remarkable. Otherwise, before I forget, the households, you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video, and I would appreciate if you can just hit the like button if you are enjoying the content that I'm giving you about NEO, ladies and gents. NEV insurance registrations figures we saw for the period which started last week on the 2nd until the 8th of October. I know that these are not the actual sales, or these NEV insurance registrations, they don't reflect actual sales of NEO, but they give us a hint on the kind of vehicles NEO is generating in terms of sales on a weekly basis in China. So I know they're not that accurate, but at least they give us a guidance or a feel on the kind of deliveries that NEO we can expect them to deliver come a month end when they report their monthly deliveries. I mean, the fact that now we know that NEO's target in Q4 is 30,000. These numbers are supposed to also improve. Those 4,400 weekly NEV insurance registrations we saw for on the last month of September, we are supposed to see that number improve if indeed NEO has ramped up their production and they are targeting 30,000. Though 30,000, as I've said, or as I've been saying, it will be quite difficult for them to achieve this month, looking at the first or looking at the fact that last week it was a national holiday in China and therefore they didn't deliver as many vehicles as possible. So we'll be closely monitoring this NEV insurance registration, or it is important that you closely monitor this because it will tell us if whether NEO is indeed on the road to 30,000 or it's in that road to achieving 30,000 monthly deliveries. Otherwise, more good news that we read about NEO this morning, it's of course the news of the gross margins, or the NEO quarterly gross margins, which are expected to improve. You'll know that in Q3, NEO CEO has already said that in terms of gross margin, they are targeting double digits. That's what he said during the Q2 earnings, meaning that, of course, that is one of the things that we'll be closely monitoring and looking if NEO, or checking if NEO, of course, if whether they achieve that on their Q3 earnings, which I think is possible looking at the fact that, ladies and gents, the news we read this morning was talking about the comments made by the NEO CEO during the Innovation Technology Day event where they were unveiling their phone, saying that each and every 50,000 RMB or Chinese yen drop in prices for lithium carbonate, it of course boosts or brings 1.5% improvement into NEO's gross margins. And looking at the fact that, ladies and gents, these prices have been dropping for the past 3 months by about 200,000 RMB. It means that chances are very high that NEO's gross margins, by just the falling of this lithium price, ladies and gents, then it means that their gross margin might be sitting, just by this, they might be sitting at 6%, plus, of course, the gross margin that they will now get from their deliveries, or the deliveries they generated for, of course, the Q3 of over 55,000. I think it is now starting to be clear to say that it is possible that we'll see the gross margins of NEO coming back to double digits right now in Q3, which will be so good to investors to see, because one of the things that investors, or those that are investing in onto NEO, they were complaining about is, of course, the gross margins, because you'll know that for Q2 gross margin came out about 1%, Q1 1.5%, which was not good, or investors did not like that. But to get to see that we might be going to double digits in Q3, or when NEO announced their Q3 earnings, it is something that will bring a relief to the new investors, because we've been worried about the gross margin for some time, though we knew what was causing, of course, the low gross margins. I mean, over and above the prices of lithium, which were so high, or which were still a bit high early this year, NEO was on a changeover, or was changing over from the NT 1.0 to, of course, NT 2.0, which that also had an impact into the gross margins that NEO report each and every quarter. So we know that, of course, these issues now in Q3 were solved, or most of the issues now, since they are out of the way, NEO can, of course, see their gross margin improve, which double digits, I think it's possible, and I hope to see the gross margin continue improving, because they are saying that, of course, or they said during their Q2 earnings that they might go to 13% or over 13% in Q4, which is something that is good, because then that also means that they are targeting to sell even more vehicles than the vehicles they sold in Q3, which were 55,000 on a monthly basis, which I think, like I said, what will really make us say that NEO is in line to achieving that is the weekly NEV insurance registrations, which we usually get on Tuesday, which we'll be closely monitoring that, or I'll be closely monitoring that, because I know with that I'll be able to determine if NEO will indeed continue doing well and deliver the 30,000 monthly delivery, or get to the 30,000 monthly delivery target which they set for themselves. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought I'd just give you this quick updates. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey, and God bless you all.